Do you ever feel like your life is stuck? Like something's holding you back and you can't even explain what it is? Maybe you think the problem is time, support, or just bad luck. But what if I told you that what's keeping you stuck is invisible, and you feed it every single day? There's a hidden reason behind your fatigue, your procrastination, that constant feeling of chasing after something. And in this video, I'm going to show you, unfiltered, why you haven't moved forward yet, and how you can flip the script right now without needing anyone's permission. But be warned, this might hurt, because we're going to tear through convenient lies and confront you with truths most people avoid. If you stick around until the end, you'll understand why most people stay trapped, and why a small few break free, even without resources, even starting from zero. You'll learn how to turn pain into power, distraction into laser focus, and wasted time into real results. Welcome to English Made Familiar, where your mindset finally starts working for you. It's strange how some people see time as something abstract, while others treat it like the most valuable asset they own. The difference between a productive day and a wasted week often lies in how someone handles their hours. The one who respects time as an ally usually reaps results that feel unreachable to the procrastinator. That's where self-discipline steps in. Waking up early, planning the day, avoiding mindless distractions. It's not magic. It's consistent execution, and it's often uncomfortable. Picture someone who decides to swap 2 hours of Netflix each night for learning something that brings them closer to their purpose. Small exchanges like that create an invisible chain of transformation. Each well-spent minute plants a seed of reinvention. Sure, it takes willpower. No one said it would be easy. But once time starts working for you, results become inevitable. Because consistency builds confidence. What many ignore is that time can either build with you or crush you. Those who wait for the perfect moment end up being crushed by deadlines, pressure, and regret. And the worst part? The clock doesn't care. It doesn't stop. While some take action, others are stuck in overthinking, comparing themselves to those already in motion. Time favors those who act now, even without guarantees. And that sense of urgency leads to the next core principle. Stop blaming and start building. Some people spend their whole lives pointing fingers, blaming their parents, the school system, the government, their boss. But here's the hard truth. As long as you're blaming, you're stuck. Taking full responsibility is the first step toward reclaiming control. That doesn't mean denying the pain or the setbacks. They're real. The difference lies in how you use them. Some use pain as fuel. Others use it as a lifelong excuse. When someone decides to own their story, something shifts inside. A growth mindset begins to replace the victim narrative. That's the moment reinvention begins. When you look in the mirror and say, "This is on me." There's no rescue team coming. No one's going to hand you success. It takes execution, persistence, and the courage to build what you want from scratch. That means stepping away from the comfort of blame and stepping into the discomfort of responsibility. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it has to start. And it usually begins with small actions. Reading a book instead of complaining about boredom. Using your free time to create instead of scrolling endlessly. Each choice builds discipline and sculpts a new reality. But let's be honest, you won't build anything real while living inside your comfort zone. And that's why the next step requires boldness. The comfort zone is sneaky. It offers safety, but at a steep cost. Inside it, everything feels controlled. Same routines, same excuses, same distractions. But that's exactly where the danger lies. When you get too comfortable, your hunger for growth fades. Time slips by, opportunities vanish, and when you finally wake up, regret is already knocking. Real growth demands friction. It demands pain, not as punishment, but as proof that you're evolving. Think of someone who hits the gym for the first time in years. It's painful, awkward, exhausting. But that's where real confidence is born. Not the kind you talk about, but the kind you build by showing up even when it's hard. Leaving the comfort zone is a conscious decision to trade ease for evolution. Every uncomfortable step is a declaration. I'm done staying stuck. And what if discomfort was actually your compass? The more resistance you feel, the closer you are to something transformative. Resistance reveals what needs to change. Choosing discomfort today creates freedom tomorrow. And speaking of choices, there's one in particular that silently kills potential dreams. The word later. And that's the trap we tackle next. I'll do it later. 3 harmless words that silently destroy dreams. People who constantly postpone important tasks are usually handing control of their life to fear and laziness. Later becomes a comfortable hiding place for those avoiding failure, discomfort, or change. And the scariest part? This lie often wears the mask of planning, but it's just fear pretending to be logic. How many brilliant ideas die before they're born because of this mindset? How many opportunities are wasted waiting for the right time? What people call procrastination is often just a lack of clarity about identity and purpose. When you truly know what you want and feel urgency about who you're becoming, later disappears from your vocabulary. Only now remains, because time doesn't wait for fear to pass. The sharpest difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck lies in this: immediate action, even afraid, even unprepared, even unsure. Now is the ground where transformation happens. Those who delay sabotage themselves. Those who act free themselves. And that brings us to a powerful mindset shift. Stop overthinking and start moving. Overthinking is like walking in circles in a dark room, hoping the lights will turn on by themselves. Some people spend hours, sometimes years, planning, imagining perfect scenarios, creating detailed lists and schedules, but never take the first step. That's not strategy. It's fear wearing a suit. Real progress begins when you understand that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Those who move without feeling fully ready gain something no plan can offer: momentum. Movement, even small, creates real-time learning. You fail faster, adjust quicker, and evolve smarter. That's where real growth lives. In the doing, not the theorizing. Planning has its place, but being a prisoner of planning is just a sophisticated way of staying safe. Execution is what separates the dreamers from the builders. And let's be honest, we all know someone who talks a lot, but does very little. They give great advice, but they're stuck in the same place. That's the trap of overthinking. It gives the illusion of progress while life passes by. The truth? The world listens less to what you say and more to what you do. And those who do, don't waste time complaining. Which brings us to the next shift. Be the one who acts, not the one who complains. Amid all the noise of complaints, there's a quiet force. The person who's working while everyone else is explaining why they're not. That's the one who wakes up early, even when it's hard, who studies while others are relaxing, who chooses 1 hour of real effort over 10 excuses. It's not about talent. It's about choosing action while the majority chooses comfort. And over time, that pattern builds a reputation no one can ignore. While some are busy pointing out what's wrong, others are busy building solutions. And what's wild is, they often face the same problems. The difference lies in how they respond. Being that person means taking the harder road. Not because suffering is glamorous, but because growth requires it. Staying disciplined when no one's watching, pushing through even without applause. That's what shapes the character of someone who goes the distance. This kind of person isn't chasing approval. They're chasing evolution. And that's why they stand out. They act while others compare, complain, and wait to be chosen. But the biggest battle they fight isn't against the world. It's against a much sneakier enemy, themselves. And that's where the real war begins. It's not the competition, not the economy, not the lack of opportunity. The biggest enemy of your progress lives inside your own mind. It's that internal voice saying, just stay in bed a little longer. You're not ready yet. Maybe later. That lazy version of you wears many disguises. Doubt, perfectionism, fear. And it's persuasive. It knows exactly how to distract you and justify doing nothing. Defeating that version of yourself takes more than skill. It takes self-awareness, purpose, and brutal honesty. Because if you don't face that inner resistance, it doesn't matter what goals you set. You'll sabotage them from the inside. Real transformation begins when you stop negotiating with your weaker self and start holding yourself accountable. And yes, that hurts. But it's the kind of pain that purifies. This war isn't won in a day. It's fought daily, quietly, endlessly. And the victories come in those small moments when you get up instead of giving in. When you keep going, even after slipping. Every time you choose your future self over your current comfort, you weaken that inner enemy. But to keep winning, you'll need to strengthen a specific muscle. One that separates the consistent from the casual. Willpower. Willpower isn't some magical trait that a lucky few are born with. It works like any other muscle. It weakens when neglected and grows when challenged. The problem is, most people wait to feel motivated before they act. But the truth is the opposite. It's action that creates motivation. The gap between those who achieve and those who don't is often just this: doing what needs to be done, even without the right feeling. Think of someone who commits to waking up at 5 a.m. every day. At first it's miserable. By day 10, it's still uncomfortable. But over time, that repetition builds internal confidence. Not the kind you talk about, but the kind you earn. Every consistent action becomes proof. I am someone who follows through. And from there, everything starts shifting. Confidence stops being a theory and becomes your identity. Of course, you'll slip up sometimes, but even failure becomes fuel. Every time you bounce back, willpower strengthens. Every time you resist the easy path, you're reinforcing discipline. That kind of mental resilience becomes your armor. And just as important, it shields you from one of the most toxic habits of modern life: comparing yourself to others. It's so easy to fall into the comparison trap, especially when everyone's life online looks like a movie. Perfect bodies, fast success, curated happiness. But you're only seeing the highlight reel, never the behind the scenes. When you measure yourself against that illusion, you disconnect from your own path. And worse, you lose focus. Your energy shifts from self-improvement to self-doubt. True progress isn't measured by being ahead of others. It's measured by being ahead of who you were yesterday. That takes brutal honesty. Not to beat yourself up, but to stay grounded. Ask yourself, where was I a month ago? What's better now? What am I avoiding? These questions keep your focus internal, where it belongs, because real growth requires tunnel vision. And distractions? They love to steal your attention. Remember, everyone carries struggles, context, and battles you can't see. No one has a perfect blueprint. The only path that works is the one you build for yourself, with your values, your pain, your purpose. But to build that wisely, you have to be selective about who you listen to, because the next move depends on choosing the right voices. Everyone has an opinion, but opinions aren't direction. One of the biggest mistakes people make is listening to those who've never built anything close to what they want. It might sound like advice, but often it's just fear in disguise. Their fear projected onto you. And if you don't filter that out, it paralyzes you. Sometimes it even comes from people you love. But good intentions don't equal experience. Real wisdom comes from lived struggle. A true mentor is someone who's already walked through the fire you're about to face. They know where the ground gives out, where ego trips you up, where discipline breaks down, because they've lived it. And when advice comes from that place, it doesn't block you. It unlocks you. It's direct, sometimes uncomfortable, but always useful. So stop chasing validation. Start seeking direction. Follow people who do, not just those who talk. Because if you're still waiting to be chosen before you begin, you've already given up your power. It's time to flip that script. Freedom starts the moment you pick yourself. Even without applause. Even without approval. And that's where everything begins to change. There comes a moment in every journey when the biggest shift isn't external, it's internal. You stop waiting for permission. While most are waiting for a job offer, a green light, or someone to notice them, the ones who break through are the ones who raise their hand and say, "I'm doing this," with or without recognition. Picking yourself isn't arrogance, it's responsibility. It's choosing to step into the arena, even when no one's clapping. The world is full of untapped potential, people sitting on powerful ideas waiting for a sign that may never come. Meanwhile, those who dare to act, even if it's messy, even if it's quiet, end up creating their own stage. Whether that means starting a small project, sharing your truth online, or simply showing up differently, self-initiated action builds momentum. And that momentum eventually attracts the attention people crave. But by then, it's no longer needed. Of course, choosing yourself means risk. It means owning your results, good or bad. But the alternative? Living a life shaped by others' expectations, playing small to stay liked. And playing small costs way more than failing big. Because it robs you of your own voice. And speaking of risk, that's where the next chapter begins. The part where stories worth telling are born. Every inspiring story has one thing in common. Someone took a risk. No one remembers the person who always played it safe and did only what was expected. The bold decisions, the ones that shift paths, break patterns, and build legacy, only come when you're willing to put something on the line. Maybe it's time, money, pride, but there has to be skin in the game. Often, it's not logic that pushes you forward. It's that deep gut feeling that you can't keep living small. Risk is scary because it exposes you. It shows where you're unprepared, where your fear still lives, where your confidence isn't yet solid. But risk also reveals who you are. It forces you to grow fast, sharpen your focus, and rise under pressure. That alone sets you apart. Each time you face uncertainty, your mind expands. You start playing a different game. One where safety isn't the goal, but impact is. But risk has a ruthless opponent: time. While you hesitate, time runs, and it doesn't slow down to match your doubts. That's why people who live bold lives understand urgency. They act before they're fully ready. Because waiting too long comes with its own kind of danger. Which leads us straight to the next truth. The clock isn't your friend. It's ticking, whether you move or not. The clock doesn't care. It keeps moving, second by second, whether you act or not. Time doesn't pause for your excuses, fears, or someday plans. And the harsh truth? It moves the same for the person who's building and the one who's just thinking. Those who understand this early develop a healthy urgency. Those who ignore it end up trying to bargain with life. But life doesn't make deals. A lot of people think they've still got time, as if there'll be a warning before their last chance. But regret usually shows up quietly, when it's already too late. You see someone living the life you wanted, achieving what you once dreamed of, and it hits you. You had the same opportunity, but you waited. Waited for confidence, for the right time, for everything to line up. And while you waited, time walked away. Every morning you wake up is a question. Will you take the lead or fall behind? Those who act, build. Those who wait, explain. When you finally realize no one's going to pause the world for you, everything changes. But to keep moving forward, you need to accept a deeper truth. One that, surprisingly, sets you free. No one really cares about your pain. It's tough to admit, but powerful to understand. No one's going to carry your pain for you. People might listen, empathize, even support you for a moment. But everyone's dealing with their own struggles. Waiting for someone to fully understand you or rescue you is a trap. Once you accept this, you unlock something rare: freedom. You no longer need permission or applause to move forward. Action becomes yours alone. This mindset kills victimhood and grows emotional maturity. Pain that once stopped you becomes fuel. You realize that the world doesn't reward those who suffer in silence. It rewards those who build despite the suffering. Results, not stories, move things forward. And once you see pain as fuel instead of a burden, everything starts to shift. What once made you fragile now makes you focused. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop chasing approval, your actions become more powerful. You move with clarity, not for applause. You build a life that feels right, not one that just looks right. And if your current life doesn't reflect that, maybe it's time to face the truth. It's on you now to create a new version of yourself. You're not a tree. You can move. You can change your environment, your routine, your identity. The life you're living right now, no matter how stuck or frustrating it feels, is not a life sentence. Identity isn't fixed. It's built, reshaped, redefined. People who truly evolve stop saying, "That's just the way I am," and start saying, "That's who I was." Change is possible, but only when you stop negotiating with your own comfort. Reinvention is rarely pretty. It often feels like tearing your emotional skin off. It's leaving behind habits that used to define you, cutting ties with familiar places, speaking in new ways, thinking new thoughts. But that's where the real shift happens. With every new habit, you signal to your brain, the old version is no longer in charge. And with that, you start rewriting your future, one choice at a time. Of course, it's uncomfortable. People around you might push back, trying to drag you back into the old version of yourself, because your growth highlights their stagnation. But if you stay the course, new results will follow. And to truly evolve, you'll need to break free from a silent prison that holds more people hostage than they realize: external expectations. The worst kind of prison has no visible bars. It's living for the approval of others. Family, friends, society, social media, everyone has an opinion on how your life should look. If you're not careful, you'll start shaping your path to fit their version of you, not your own. And the result? You may get applause, but for a role that isn't even yours. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with the emptiness. When you break free from those expectations, it's like breathing deeply for the first time. Your dreams start to make sense again. Your desires stop feeling selfish. Your purpose gets louder. That doesn't mean ignoring everyone. It means choosing what's true for you. Living to impress others drains you. Living with authenticity fuels you. And identity becomes something you own, not something you borrow. Of course, that freedom comes with a price. You'll disappoint people. You'll be misunderstood. And that's okay, because in that tension, you'll discover a new kind of power. One that's born from pain, from rupture, from rebuilding. And that's where your pain, instead of crushing you, starts to give you power. Pain didn't show up to destroy you. It came to shape you. What hurt you yesterday can strengthen you today, if you choose to use it as fuel instead of a crutch. Some people get stuck in telling the same painful story, hoping the world will finally understand. But the ones who truly transform are those who take the scar and turn it into a symbol of power. They don't deny the past, but they refuse to let it define the future. Pain, when channeled, creates a kind of intensity that nothing else can match. It's what gets you out of bed earlier. It's what helps you train harder, study deeper, focus longer. It's not about getting over it. It's about remembering it with purpose. The hard things you've lived through can either weigh you down or sharpen you. They teach you how to see clearly, choose wisely, and act with urgency. And once you get that, your focus changes. You stop trying to avoid pain and start extracting strength from it. You stop running from struggle and start moving through it with intention. And that's when a new vision starts to form. One where distractions no longer deserve your energy. Because now, your fuel is clean. And every drop counts. Focus is the throne of the mind. Whoever controls their focus controls their day. And whoever controls their day shapes their future. But today's world is a minefield of distractions dressed as entertainment, urgency, or well-deserved breaks. Every notification, every scroll through a feed, every extra tab open drains a bit of your energy. What seems like a harmless pause is actually robbing you of momentum. Most dreams don't die from lack of vision. They die from too much noise. Feeding your focus is an act of protection. It's about saying no to anything that doesn't align with your purpose. It might seem harsh at first, but it's necessary. Trade 1 hour of Netflix for 1 hour of learning. Replace gossip with silence. Swap anxiety for action. In the beginning, it feels unnatural. But once progress shows up, it becomes addictive. And soon, you'll protect that mental space like it's sacred. Because focus and distraction cannot coexist. You either feed one or the other wins. And if you're truly serious about building something meaningful, you need to face a raw truth. Life owes you nothing. Not time, not motivation, not second chances. Everything you want must be built. And the world only rewards what gets done. It's a tough pill to swallow, but here it is. The world doesn't care about what you could be. It only responds to what you deliver. Untapped talent, good intentions, brilliant ideas on paper. None of that means anything without execution. Life doesn't owe you recognition, success, or opportunity. What you get is what you build. And when you finally accept that, it's not depressing. It's freeing. Because you stop waiting, and start creating. Some people stay frustrated saying, "No one sees my potential." But potential without action is just a comfortable illusion. The real world doesn't pay attention to promises. It responds to proof. You could have genius-level ideas, but if they never leave your head, they don't count. And nothing stings more than seeing someone with less talent move ahead, simply because they started. That's the game, do or delay. Those who delay end up watching from the sidelines. That's why your mindset has to shift now, because perfect timing is a myth. The winners, they move even when the conditions aren't ideal. And that's what brings us to the final piece. The power of starting right now, even if everything still feels uncertain. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. The perfect moment doesn't exist. There will always be something missing. Time, money, clarity, support. Waiting for everything to line up perfectly is how most people waste their lives. Those who win are the ones who start anyway. Messy, scared, unsure. They make mistakes early, learn faster, and move ahead while others are still getting ready. Imperfect action beats perfect planning every time. Plenty of people started with nothing. No followers, no resources, no permission. And yet, they created momentum. Not because they had an advantage, but because they chose to begin. They didn't wait for a course, a platform, or a pat on the back. They just started. That urgency rewires your mindset. And once your mind shifts, your habits follow. Eventually, even your circumstances begin to evolve, but only for those already in motion. So if there's even a tiny seed of desire inside you, plant it today. Even if it's messy, even if it's small, even if you don't know what comes next. The most important thing is to break the inertia, because the person who takes one scared step today is already years ahead of the one still preparing. Now that you know what's really been holding you back, the question is, what will you do with it? Will you let this just be more information? Or will you use it as fuel to finally change your life? What excuses are you still buying into? What distractions need to die today? And most importantly, what's the first step you're going to take right now, even if it's messy, even if it's small? If this content shook something inside you, if it woke up even a spark, then join the transformation. Subscribe to English Made Familiar, hit the notification bell, and stay close. Around here, change isn't optional. It's inevitable for those who choose to act.